All right, here we are. Welcome back to Ropeadope TV. We are here in East Philadelphia after a whirlwind trip to the Art of Cool Fest, and we are honored to welcome Mr. Trevor Lawrence Jr.
What's up, man?
Good to see you, man. Thank you for taking the time to come back here and see us.
Yes,
You had a little layover in Philadelphia. You're in the middle of...
Yeah. I was just doing some dates with Leanne Rhymes on the East Coast, you know, and it was close, so figured that we'd do our thing, you know what I mean?
We got you tacos. It's a little too early for whiskey, but we'll get it. So I want to start, we've been chatting for a while here in the store, and I want to start with something that you just randomly mentioned all the way back, Dizzy Gillespie.
First
thing?
Well, I mean, I was playing a lot. I mean, it was like, so what it was is there's this thing called the Monterey Jazz Festival, which we're familiar with. That was 1990, and so my high school at the time was the arts school in LA called Hamilton's, where Abel Boreal Jr. and a lot of people went there, Warren Campbell, Mike Elizondo. So we had a pretty strong jazz band. So we went to a festival, a competition, and we won that competition. And then we were asked to go out to Monterey. So once we got to Monterey, unbeknownst to us, they picked certain guys to play with him, and then it was a combo that we had, and we ended up playing with him. And you know, it was a life changer for me because I was already, you know, I was a jazz musician already, so it was already like I was playing with this group called Black Note at the time, and yeah, because Willie Jones had started playing with Arturo, so I would fill in with them and do these tours. It was my first tour, and I was still young, you know. And I got to play with Dizzy, man. It was like, I'll never forget the story as long as I live, where we were rehearsing Manteca, you know, before he came in, and his manager was like, okay, this is only going to make sense to musicians, but it will make sense. He says, man, when Dizzy gets in here, I want everybody to play super quiet, double F, which is the complete opposite. That's basically saying as loud as you can play, but the manager was trying to be musically hip, you know, and so that's just a funny little, you know, I'll never forget that. But he was a great cat, man, and you know, I was lucky enough to get a great picture with him, man, and share the stage with him, and it just, you know, let me know that I was on the right path. You know what I mean? Was it always drums for you?
Yeah,
it was drums my whole life. My mom said she was a frustrated drummer and she wanted a drummer son, so yeah, always.
I saw that I know nothing about music, but I have to say, like, you know, we have a lot of drummers on the label, but when I watch you play, the power is the word that comes to mind.
I appreciate it.
Just power.
Appreciate it.
It's so strong. You got a lot of highlights. If I Google Trevor Lawrence Jr., I'm going to find all kinds of things, but you got to pick.
I mean,
I'll let you pick like maybe 5 top.
Well, of course, Herbie Hancock. I got it. That's my, you know, for me when that happened, it was like, man, that was definitely a #1 on the bucket list.
Nice.
So I got to check that off, and then ended up doing the Herbie Show quartet with Wayne Shorter. So that became, even though it was a few years later, it became #2 on the bucket list.
Right.
And then you know, I had a relationship with Dr. Dre that I started from the end of Death Row, doing sessions, and that carried on to the beginning of him starting Aftermath in like '96, '98, doing SNLs and stuff. And then in 2008, it became becoming a staff producer. And so there's, you know, upwards of, I'll say between 30 and 50 releases probably that we've had since then, you know, with Eminem or just him or 50 Cent. We have some stuff coming out even soon. So
I love how, it's just, I love how you're just like dropping the biggest names in the business.
I mean, you know, the reason why I say that is because it's like, you know, it's still, I'm a fan too, right? Yeah. So, you know, because I really self-medicate the ego, you know what I'm saying? I try to keep it in check. I don't ever look down on people or anything like that. You know, we have a saying, the ego is not your amigo, and it's like, I still look at that stuff, and I remember when I was in the room, Terrace and I together can remember being in the room making beats and doing stuff with no records coming out, nothing in sight. Yeah. I remember, we'll laugh about this forever. We tried to do a remix one time for Tatiana Ali, and this is back in the DAT days. This is the girl from the Fresh Prince, which she was trying to sing. And you know, there was no like, the technology was old school, man. So they would just send you a DAT with, you know, music a cappella, so you had to line it up yourself, you know, and there wasn't Pro Tools. So it was like, it was just a different day, you know, and we learned a lot, we cut our teeth a lot like that, you know what I mean, and our relationship, you know, became strong. It's like 20, 25 years, you know, and, you know, it's just a journey that life takes you. I mean, Dre is one thing, there's been a lot of sessions I was happy to do, you know, Man of Steel was great, that was amazing, a whole bunch of drummers with Hans Zimmer. The Big Short, I just liked because that was a great movie. You know what I'm saying? You know, recently this new Ed Sheeran record is out. You know, I wrote a song on Bruno Mars album. That's another. I was a fan. I saw that happen. You know, and I saw Bruno happen in LA. So, and we have a lot of friends that are in, you know, mixed with that. So it's just another thing where it's like, wow. You know what I mean? One day, and then that day happens. It's like, how did we get here? You know what I mean?
Right. I'm starting to kind of get a little bit of that feeling in my little corner of the world. Yeah. Where I just stop. Things can happen pretty fast.
Yeah, like how we met. Yeah, like
okay. You know, we're putting out these records. All right.
Yeah, man. It's like, I mean, I'm gonna be honest with you, man. Like, you know, I've seen Terrace, and I've been a part of so many of his records and projects, and when he came to made the move over here, and then we did the show in Brooklyn with Herbie, and we linked up, it was just the vibe. I know that's the phrase of the crew, but it's the vibe. You know what I mean? Lewis is the vibe. So it just all worked out. You know what I mean? And then we're here now, and I'm super happy about this project, man. And you know, I can't imagine it coming out anywhere else at any other time. It's like it all, you know what I mean? It works. So I'm excited, man.
And that's one of the things I usually ask at the beginning of the interview, and you've answered the question already, but I'll just, for the record, we did meet through Terrace Martin, and it was either at a Polyseed show or it was at the Herbie Hancock show.
I think it was at Herbie.
At Herbie?
Yeah, okay. I believe it was at Herbie, unless it was more in passing, perhaps, at one of the Polyseed shows in LA.
National Sawdust it would have been.
No, it was Herbie then. It was
Herbie.
Yeah,
okay. Gotcha.
In Brooklyn.
Gotcha.
Yep. For sure.
Did you mention that you played drums at Live Aid?
Live Aid and Live Earth, actually, which were both kind of close. So Live Earth was at, I think, Giant Stadium. That was later. Right. I did Stevie Wonder at Live Aid in Philly for the 1 million people. And it was that 2005 or whatever. I just remember all you could see is people down the street, and he killed me because, and I'll share this with everybody now. It's on DVD or YouTube, whatever. But you know, he has like when there's a set list, everything is cool and we can kind of be on the same page, but sometimes there's some hand signal things that happen, and sometimes the communication of what those mean isn't right. So in front of 1 million people, you know, I got the signal, I went into I Wish, Superstition, and it wasn't the song. It was like, oh, no.
Do you know what we call those? Yeah. We call those Grateful Dead moments.
Yeah. It was like, dude, I was like, are you serious?
That's what that band does every time.
You know, and I never forget one day I was walking in Best Buy like years later, and I was like, they made a DVD of that? You know what I'm saying? I was like, dude, I can't believe it.
Immortalized forever.
You know, but
that keep the ego down.
Yeah, it's a blessing. I mean, I played on that record, so that was a blessing. You know, I'm gonna share something with you guys, and I gotta be honest, man. In my life, and this is another example, also philosophical, of what speaking words to existence means. I've never wanted to be in a cover band. I always wanted to work with the artists, playing, not even being just a, you know, play the old stuff. I mean, I always wanted to work with the artists on something new and be a part of a record. And as a drummer, I always wanted to be a drummer, but also on the other side. You know what I mean? And it takes some time to get respected enough for you to be able to work on that other side. But you know,
you mean as producer?
Yeah, or a writer, you know, just other than just the drummer, you know what I mean? It takes some time, you know, sometimes, but after a while, when it happens, it's just a great feeling, because it's like you almost feel like, okay, you took one meeting, you know, one afternoon, like say a session, and you turned it into a relationship, right? So that's where the record came from. I'm just reflecting on all these things, and it was like, man, it's always been about relationships. There's 1 million great drummers. There's 1 million great, every musician, every writer, there's 1 million of those. But the relationships are what navigate your path in life. You know what I mean? So that's what I kind of realized.
Exactly what you did. Yeah, as I look back, it's always that the turn, the real change is when you meet somebody and something else comes up. But I want to, because you've mentioned the name of the record, Relationships, Trevor Lawrence Jr. coming out on July 21st. And this is a jump too. So you talk about the drummer side and the other side. Now we're talking about another side, which is taking that risk.
Yep.
Even with all the credits that you have to your name, there's still a risk to this, is there not? Where this is your band, this is your name out there. You're writing, you're producing. You produce the record.
Yep.
Arranging, composing.
Yep.
And playing.
Yep.
And doing some marketing and some booking as well, right? But here it is. Trevor Lawrence Jr. is on the cover.
Yeah.
Does that bug you out at all? Is it,
I'm gonna be honest, man.
The other things you've done?
As I was preparing to deliver, it kind of all hit at once. You know what I mean? Because I've been very busy, just even during the time we decided to make a record, supremely busy. Right. And so I've been making it in these spits and spurts, and thank goodness for all the internet stuff and these other kind of relationships and the technology. I'm a big, supporter with Herbie. Like, he says this all the time. It's 21st century. Might as well use the technology. I'm big into that. So, that's, been a very big help too. That's almost like the additional, the additional producer is technology. You know what I mean? Because that saves us so much. The other person
in the room.
Man, come on. If a cat, because a lot of our friends and people on the label, cats, we got schedules. So, West Coast to East Coast, I'm not out here in the East Coast, so I'm in LA. So it's like, if I want to use somebody, whatever, it's got to be some, let me send it to you, you send it back, let me, But then I realized, Louis, too, that it's cool because I figured out a way to still get the honesty as if we're all in the same room. And what that is, I don't let anybody, I tell them I want the first take all the way through, and if you do another take, all the way through. I don't want you to do any editing, and I don't want you to listen to it 20 times. And I can tell. You can tell, If I don't hear him playing something and figuring it out, then I know you sat up and did, because then it's objective and I can make an honest edit on my own of the performance. I don't necessarily edit them and create a performance. I just mute sections, insert. So it's like, it's still an honest thing, it's an honest thing. I don't want it to just be every, bar just manicured and thing. I like to keep that honesty as well, even if we are in the room or if we're not in the room. So I learned that, that kind of, really got enhanced during this project, and I have a respect for that way of recording.
That's fascinating. And it's funny how we're all trying to navigate the way our world is changing, using this new technology and the advantages that it brings, but also keep the real, the integrity and the honesty that I think we all got a really good glimpse in 10 years of the internet, how that can just drift away really quickly if you're not careful. Now we're having trouble finding out what the real context is. Like I can Google you, or I can Google Eddie Palmieri, and I don't know what the story is because I got all the information right in front of me like this. So, context gets lost quickly. So keeping real value in things is pretty important. Let's run down who's on this record.
Sure. Man.
Record's
called Relationships, and it's literally that. All my friends came to the plate for me. It was like, we got, I'll start from, I have Mike Elizondo, who's one of my oldest friends, Terrace Martin, Kamasi Washington, Nicholas Payton, another great trumpet player by name of, a young trumpet player by name of Emil Martinez, Leanne Rhymes, Teodros Avery, a very incredible singer by the name of Mika, another great singer by the name of Donna Masal. Let's see.
Did I see Preston Harris on there?
Yeah, Preston, man, murdered. Yeah, Preston. Amazing stuff that this guy does. Another trumpet player by the name of Nico Segal, that's killing. Some people know him as Donnie Trumpet, killing. And he's a young star on the verge. Probably some people I forgot, but it's.
We got some other Ropeadopers in there. We got.
Maurice Brown.
Brown.
Chelsea Barat. Oh man, killed it. It's just like, You know,
bass.
Yeah. Oh, Brandon Owens.
Brandon,
you know, Elizondo played bass. Brandon Owens played bass. A guy named Dale Black played bass. Tabor Gable toured with us. Polly C, Tabor Gable. He played keys on something. Kenneth Crouch. Now understand, Kenneth Crouch and Mike Elizondo were my best men at my wedding. You know what I'm saying? So these other connections are happening internally too. You got let's see, who else? Oh, Jordan, a great friend, Joel Whitley, another incredible bass player who most people only know from his work with Alan Holdsworth in the fusion world by the name of Anthony Crawford. But I have him playing a whole nother side with his groove side to let people know, like, man, I'm from Memphis. I still got it in there. Don't let the notes get you confused, you know. Let's see who else. Oh man, an incredible. And I'm a percussionist as well as a drummer, but you know, I really respect the guys that are really have a special thing for percussion. And Alacoy, Mike Holden, Pete is a very, you call him Alacoy, and you've heard him on Terrace's record and other records. Okay. Very special feel and approach, you know, that Alacoy has. You know what I'm saying? And so Alacoy played percussion on some things. We played percussion together on a couple things. My wife's on the record, who's a brilliant songwriter and vocal arranger, you know what I mean? And, you know, it's like, man, it just came together. And on the writing side, you know, in addition on the song with Leanne and Nicholas, who, by the way, are on the song together, which I was, amazing. Yeah, I was trying to, like, tell that story, too. There's a gentleman by the name of Darryl Brown who has quite a tremendous history of writing from, you know, Vince Gill. I mean, so many country things and gospel things. So it was all relationship based. I could have never have callously had somebody else call and say, hey, show up to this. And it's not the same energy. It's a vibe. This is all reciprocal vibes and respect. You know what I mean? I do. I do. And it's I spend most of my days trying to advance that for, you know, among musicians and people, and just as a, you know, as a method. It's funny, we just interviewed R.C. Williams and and Sean Martin together, and we talked about the family tree in Dallas, and like big brother, little brother, cousin, sisters, you know, they all refer to each other that way, and what it is that those are relationships, right? And what happens, I think the key thing that came out in that interview was the ending days of capitalism. Most people have the model of individuality and self, and I have to protect what's mine. And what happens when you do that and you close off and you get into that kind of mentality, which serves some people very well for the purpose of collecting money, but what happens is creativity gets stifled, in my opinion. And when you put out relationship and you connect with people, because that Dallas scene has more solid musicians, and then what you're describing is the LA scene with this very similar thing. And if people want to know why these places have more musicians, talented people coming up, it's for that reason, because they cultivate the relationships and they take care of each other and bring it up. So you know, I think I realized in that interview that it wasn't really my idea. Like, I kind of thought for a minute there that it was my idea to like network all these musicians together, and, you know, it's like divine inspiration or something. And I realized I'm just copying what you guys already have, and trying to support those people who get that and who are advancing that, because the result, there's a great old, and I'll tie it back to capitalism real quick. Back in the late 1800s, they had different size railroad tracks in every state in the United States, or many of the states, or the regions, right? Because the companies didn't think that if they worked together, that they could survive. That they would lose money. That was their mentality, right? So you bring a freight car to the end of Ohio, and then you'd unload it and put it on the new freight car. And then the government mandated that all the tracks be the same size. And as soon as they did, bam! Everything blew up for everybody. So that's that's crazy. Nuts and bolts version of the same kind of thing. So no, but we're not interviewing me here. No, that's not good, man. That's amazing. I always like to throw my politics in the mix. Man. That's what we're talking about. So we got July 21. All these incredible people on the record. I missed two that I have to say. An incredible poet that one time was in New York. I met him at a panel I was doing in the University of Alabama, but he's very known in New York by the name of Sharif Simmons, killer poet, and a great vibes player. Her name is Nakara Warren. She's out of New York as well, and they really came through and just killed the song. Oh, and a great. Oh man, I'm forget. See, it's crazy.
Yeah,
I have, you know, a part of my my brothers, I call them because we're like brothers from the Leanne Rhymes band. A great, incredible bass player by the name of Joe Cleveland. A great guitar player out of Nashville named Greg Hagan, who's played with everybody from Little Big Town to all these different acts in that world. You know, that's killing. A great piano player and keyboard player by the name of Wild Jones, who works for like Bryson Tiller, and he worked with, it's LA, he's another guy, he's from Baltimore, but he's done a lot. He's a very tasteful, incredible guy. And then a lady who I met while on tour with Terrace and the Polyseeds, who at that time was singing with Mayor Hawthorne when we were in Rotterdam at that festival. So her name is Jimmy James. She killed a song on my record, wrote it and sang it, amazing, and you know, super great vibe. So, you know, I'm surrounded by some incredible people, man, and it's just been fun to wrangle everybody together and come out with this kind of a, you know, offering. Beautiful, beautiful. I was struck. I think we might have queued up the record, played a couple of tracks. I don't think I even played a couple of tracks before I was like, let me just hit, and I don't usually do that, but just let me hit that last track on here for a minute, because I want to hear what it sounds like when Leanne Rhymes and Nicholas Payton are on the same recording. Yeah. And you guys were here, and I was just like, yeah. You know, stop everything, because the first thing that hit me was you not only obliterated the concept of jazz genre, but you did the same with whatever pop and country at the same time. So you can place this for a second in anything you want, but then you can't. And yet it's not disparate at all. It's solid, straight ahead, different music. That feels like you've known it forever. Well, I appreciate that. So, I mean, I always ask the question, why not? I'm really not into labels, man, in the creative thing. We have to have them. Record labels. Yeah. But, you know what I'm saying? We have to have them, obviously, but I don't like when people marginalize stuff. You know what I mean? Right. Yeah, I don't like when try to categorize it? You know, I just don't like when people do that in the sense of, oh, well, that has to be this because of that. And it's almost disrespectful. It's like, I don't know about that, because you know, there you can. If you start opening up that box, you'll realize all throughout history there's been plenty of cross-genre things that worked out. It's just they became normal. You know what I'm saying? It's like, you know, years ago when there was Tutu, it's like, wow, there's a lot of program stuff on that record. Okay, you know, that was back then. Now it's virtually, wow, there's some live stuff on that record. It's the complete opposite. So, you know, it's like, you know, it's taking its time in cycles. And, you know, my family has been through this business. My father played all the saxophone on Songs of Key of Life and all the classic Stevie records, Marvin Gaye's Trouble Man. My mother was a Supreme. You know, so it's like I've seen music from these different genres, and it's like I don't believe that. I don't, you know, I just have it in my blood where I don't categorize it. I come with gospel, grandfather, but we just music. It's just about music. You know what I'm saying? Music, It's just about music, man. So, you know, at the end of the day, man, I'm just excited that it worked out, man. I can't wait for the people to check it out, man, and let me know what they think, man, because it's for everybody else, man. I just want everybody to have something they can vibe with. Yep. You know, and Love Stone, which is the track we were just referring to, it's, you know, in this current state, some people feel like things aren't so pleasant, and it's just a nice escape song to take you to another place and just give you some vibe. 100%. The answer. It is the answer. Yeah. You get done with answering all these questions of what's wrong with the world, you're going to arrive at one thing, and that's love. 100%. You know? If you don't arrive at love, something's wrong. And it's not, and there's nothing embarrassing about jazz carrying that message, or jazz elements carrying that message. I mean, you know, I just feel like if you go back to some of our favorite artists, you know what I mean, their biggest songs were the ones that everybody could sink their teeth into, like Watermelon Man, like Rocket, you know what I'm saying? Like, at the time, you know, Night in Tunisia, like, you know, different. It's just these different periods in history where, you know, or just like the other day I was listening to Don't Worry, Be Happy. It still goes hard, and it's what 30-something years. You know what I'm saying? It still goes hard. You're like, wow, Bobby, you killed everybody with no other musicians, and it still goes hard 30-something years later while I'm sitting there eating breakfast. You know what I'm saying?
I do. I do.
So,
I think
you know.
that, I'm sorry.
No, but that's what I'm saying. That's the message, man. That message will never get old, man. You know what I mean? Love, happiness. It's really what we all are trying to achieve, but we got so many obstacles. We got all this other stuff to talk about.
My comment on that, and it's the same as the comment on genre and the way, like, you know, if you particularly love a certain genre and you look at another genre and you're like, I don't like that, I'm cool with that. But if I think that the human mind likes to categorize. Like the first thing you do when you see something, people say, what kind of music is that? Because I want to file it away. Like the brains just want to like, I'm going to put that in jazz category so I can remember it, track it later, whatever. You know? But if it's mind expanding, if it's different than all that, you can't do that.
Right.
You can't just automatically pack it away. You got to look at it. You got to, and that's where that's intellectual curiosity. That's mind expanding. And I think we've just gotten lazy. I think we're just like, oh, is that jazz? Okay, I'll put it jazz.
Right.
Is that pop? Is that pop? And it's the same thing with the path towards love. You know.
Yeah.
I mean, it's easy. It's easy to be angry and then label people and be like, oh, well, he's just that. You know. So I'm not gonna put that. You got to work at it a little bit.
I mean, so, you know, but that's what I'm saying, man. We got relationships, we got love, we touch on all these other things. I mean, listen, it's a recipe for a ride, man. You know what I mean? I want you to, you know, listen to the record. I want the people to listen to the record and feel like they went somewhere. You know what I mean? And,
beautiful.
And, you know,
I think they will. I think they will. And we hope to see you out on the road.
100%.
We got to get our work done to get this record out to the people.
Yep.
Also want to just mention that you are a Polyseed. 100%. So record's coming out 1 week after the Polyseed's record. So July is going to be an exciting time.
Yeah.
Looking forward to it. Yeah. Thanks so much.
Man, thank you, man.
Having you here.
Appreciate it, man.
All right.
All good. Peace.